Hello! As you know by now, my name is Funk McLovin. If I sound sick, it's because I am sick. I have some good news and I have some bad news, humble listeners. The bad news is that this is the final planned episode of Rewriting Homestuck. There might be more later. We've discussed an episode about our takes on an epilogue or HS2, but as of right now, that's all in the realm of speculation. As it is the last episode, in heavy quotes, I'd like to thank some people. First, I'd like to thank my co-hosts, Janai and Bucky. These are two people who, over the past 2 years, I've come to realize are indispensable in my life and mean a lot to me. They've made me see so many things in new lights, and I can't thank them both enough. I've emphasized this before, but it bears repeating. Please check out their work, I'm begging you. Janai's work on AO3 has legitimately elevated my perception of fan fiction as a medium, and Bucky's work on blended media on YouTube is as funny as it is insightful. You will become smarter from looking at it. Smarter in terms of like Homestuck concepts, but still smarter. Next is my other co-hosts, Momo, Daft, Crow, and Anna, who have all appeared in the past on miscellaneous episodes. Momo and Daft were brought on because we needed some more insight on the trolls, but their contribution went further than I could have possibly imagined. Momo remains one of the most engaging thinkers in the Homestuck space, and Daft is the single biggest contributor of feedback on what I've written so far of the actual rewrites. Crow, of course, needs no introduction, as the leader of monumental fan projects like Sakon and numerous zines throughout the years. And of course, last but not least, Anna, who we've already sung the praises for on her work on her music degree and on the Ancestors musical, Time's Apprentice. And next, I'd like to thank my good friends Leah and Roxy. They weren't on the podcast, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention them. If you know, you know. Finally, some contributors to my Patreon as well as my YouTube comments. Jazzy Waffles for the Homestuck recaps that made re-examining and summarizing Homestuck much less of a pain in the ass. Kaleidoscope Mediator, who has been a loyal listener and insightful Eridan thinker. Jojiro for being my first ever patron. Pyrate and Luna for being long-standing fans of my work before the rewrite. And of course, Elizabeth and Bear Pigs for supporting me even though you've never fucking read Homestuck. Yes. And now with that sentimental nonsense indulged, here's the good news. Rewriting Homestuck isn't just a podcast. Oh no, it's real, I promise. We've also decided on a name for this narrative. Homestuck, Alternate Universe. People have been very excited about the actual rewrite for some time now, and my comments sections are flooded with questions about what form it will take. I've been reserved in the past because frankly before now I didn't know myself, but now I do, and I want to answer some of those. The most common question has been, what medium will this be in? Will it be a webcomic or something else? Before now, I thought it would be, but due to the skill set of myself and my collaborators erring less towards digital art and more towards script writing, Foley work, and editing, we've decided to make Homestuck AU an audio drama or radio play. Another common question is, where will it be found? Well, as of right now, nowhere. It doesn't exist yet, idiot. In the far-flung future, however, it will be available on this channel as well as Bandcamp and in print on AO3 and MSPFA. The final question is, when will Homestuck AU be out? Usually this is where developers give you the runaround and bullshit you a lot, but thankfully the answer is simple for us. January 20th, 2022. Right now we're recording lines for Act 1 to be ready by that date. Act 1 is made up of 10 chapters and will be released weekly. We're not sure how many acts or chapters there will be in total because we're still editing things, and by we I mean me, I'm doing it. But the ball will begin rolling on January 20th and conclude with the kids entering the game. It's highly likely that Homestuck AU will give everyone something to look forward to throughout 2022, possibly beyond, and I can't wait to unveil it for you all. That is, however, a 2-month gap between projects, which is quite sad, but an inevitable part of producing things. Let's call this pause the pre-pause, in keeping with the pauses of old Homestuck before. If you're really excited for more Homestuck AU, though, there will be a preview debuting at Sakon's Winter Showcase. Link in the description, which is occurring on December 3rd, 8 p.m. EST. For now, though, here's a little preview before that preview. The pre-preview for the loyal listeners, featuring the voice talent of someone I'm sure you've heard before.
John, a happy birthday to you. You are now of legal age.
Yeah, I guess I can have, sexual intercourse now, huh?
I was referring to the legal age in terms of being tried as an adult on criminal charges. But yes, sex is a perk. I would know. Naturally. From fucking your mother.
Joke's on you, Lalonde. I don't even have a mother.
Precisely. She was erased from existence retroactively due to the caliber of the sex I had with her. Haven't you ever thought how strange your circumstances are? Raised by a single father without a mom in sight in all your 18 years? That's right, Egbert. I quantum fucked your mom.
Wow, I'm getting the deluxe Rose Burn experience. Happy birthday to me.
Again, on December 3rd, there will be more information and more of that preview. But for now, that's all you get. On the bright side, however, I do have an hour-long podcast that you can listen to after this, the thing that you all came here for. So there you go. This covers the end of Homestuck, basically the last 3 flashes and any miscellaneous things we didn't contribute. So just enjoy it. I really hope that you all fucking enjoyed this podcast, and I hope you enjoy what I have in store soon. So, yeah. Without further ado, here it is. Let's talk about Homestuck's ending. I didn't write any show notes because we've basically filled in all of the cracks, I think, of Homestuck, minus the very ending. And there's really 3 steps to the ending, which is Collide, Act 7, and finally the Snapchat epilogue. We're not going to talk about the real epilogue, or the post-canon epilogue. We're going to talk about the snap dates because those are still included in Homestuck's main webpage.
Right.
I consider them the epilogues to canon Homestuck, but I don't really know how people feel about that nowadays.
I mean, that's the thing, is that the comic ended and then there was never a follow-up to it, so...
Yes, correct. I don't know what I'm talking about. I've clearly come from a different timeline talking about, JoJo, it's 2018. Epilogues? Post-canon? What are you talking about? Let's go read Paradox Space.
Hive Sub Act 3 is coming out in a month. What are you talking about?
Also, I apologize if I sound sick. It's because I am sick. But yeah, let's just run these down in order. I have a feeling that I don't know. I will be happy to put this fucking show behind us and actually start doing some proofreading on some actual, rewritten, because I've written basically the first 2 parts pretty substantially, edited and whatnot. I just didn't know how long this fucking podcast would go on, but people seem to like it, so we're gonna make it. But this is the last one. This is the last official episode. We might get into the you made me forget the post canon for a minute there, Janiyah. Thank you.
Because it never existed.
More of from an analysis point of view, or maybe instead of talking about them themselves, we could talk about what we would do with them or something. But
yeah.
For right now, let's talk about the ending. So first, let's talk about Collide, and I guess I'll start with this one because I have some thoughts about it. First, I want to address some of the criticisms that people have with it that I don't agree with, which is that Collide was bad in some way, which I heartily disagree with. No matter what you think came before this, or how boring the conversations were, I think Collide is very effective at basically finishing the comic, and Act 7 does tie up all the loose ends and stuff like that. But I consider the Collide to be the end of Homestuck because so much shit happens there. A lot of big bads are dispatched, like the Condes and the Felt. A lot of threads are tied up, even ones that were pretty esoteric. And all in all, I've said before many times that Hussey is good at getting to point A to point B with questionable stuff in the middle. And this for him is point B, which is great. So we'll go right from left today, or middle, right, then left. So Bucky, what are your thoughts on Collide, the Flash?
So I'm not gonna cover the things that we know about it now, because that's not what I am usually here for. What I'm usually here for is to tell you what people thought about it at the time it came out. That seems to have been my niche for the episodes thus far, so that's what I'm gonna do. I don't know. I remember this is the one that I like showed a bunch of people, or I made my girlfriend and her ex-girlfriend, who she still lived with, watch when it came out. And don't think too hard about that sentence. And and I remember, like, I think this is something I said in the lost drunken part of the episode, that that Homestuck was intended to be a story about stories, was how it was explained at the time. That, like, it was going to be a little bit vague and a little bit, like, not exactly wrapping up every detail, because that wasn't ever the point of Homestuck. And I had, like, accepted that for a while. I think what really actually hit me, much like with many of the other Flashes, what really hit me about this one was the soundtrack, because I hadn't actually listened. I don't think Era of Grief had been. I think this was one of the first Flashes where the music actually hadn't been released before the Flash. Oh no, Eternity Served Cold, I believe, had some stuff going on with its release, including that it was previously titled something anti-Semitic, and then they changed the name. So I'm not going to speak on that one. You can look into it. The thing that struck me the most about Collide was the soundtrack, and I remember, like, so Collide came out when I was a sophomore in college, so I was solidly in college at that point. My girlfriend had already bought me my bicycle, and my other girlfriend lived like 7 blocks north of campus, so I remember, like, tipsily biking back down the street at 1 a.m. listening to Air of Grief on my, like, through my headphones while I was biking. And I gotta say, that was pretty good. Like, to be clear, I was biking with an amount of alcohol in my system. I don't know my blood alcohol level. Enough that, like, there was only one road ahead of me and not multiple. But, like, Charleston was very quiet at night. I wouldn't recommend that in a larger city. I wouldn't really recommend that at all, but if you're gonna do it in a quiet place, I don't know, Air of Grief in particular was such a gorgeous song, and it just struck me really hard. I loved it. I listened to it over and over and over and over and over and over again. So Collide happened, and we all sort of, like, forgot about it. And, like, I definitely had some gripes with the fact that it was vague, and the fact that it just sort of hand-waved some stuff. But to summarize what I said in the Lost Drunken bit, things happened afterwards that put that in perspective, and I'm now quite pleased with the ending, actually. To be blunt. So... yeah. I wish things had gone differently, but I'm quite happy with not going back to revisit them with the original author or any of the original author's friends. Or anyone even tangentially related to the original author.
Yeah. I do want to put in one thing. The music you mentioned, I think, is very important because it is a testament to Homestuck's, like, efforts for collaboration and how, you know, it's always had some amount of fan input. And this is, like, the good ending for fan input. The bad ending is, like, riskogram, where it's in service of something so self-indulgent that it's kind of unbelievable. But this is the good.
No, Jojo. The bad ending is Riskus Masterquest route.
That collaboration.
Why do we keep talking about things that don't exist?
I don't know. It was weird that they only released they only released 10 PestraQuest routes and just left Terezi and Vriska out. Like, it's weird that they did that. I was going to say, I forgot to mention, the people I subjected to Collide at least once or twice had played Undertale with me, so they knew what happened when we got to Opa Toby style, and Dave Petta went Undertale Heart. Like, that was relatable to them, people who played Undertale with me, but I also forgot to mention that, like, Opa Toby style was really good. Like, all 4 of the tracks in Collide were fantastic, but Air of Grief just really
that's kind of fucked up that Undertale came out in 2015 and Homestuck ended in 2016. That's unsettling.
Well, yeah, because Because Obama was the Homestuck president, remember?
Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
no.
I forgot about that.
He was
Oh,
inaugurated right
God.
before Homestuck began, and he left office right before it ended, right? Or right after it ended?
My fellow Mercs.
Like,
Please
no,
read this
right
website.
after it ended, because he left office in January 2017.
Yeah,
so
right,
he's the
right,
Homestuck
right.
president.
Michelle, get
yeah.
in here. I want you to see these characters.
God.
Michelle, get in here. I think
It's actually pretty good.
I want to cosplay this Dave guy. I think I can pull it off. Need a blonde wig.
Well, I'm going to
anyway.
go jump out of a window now.
Janaya, what are your Collide thoughts?
Okay, yeah. So, interestingly enough, we are now at the point in the Homestuck timeline where I could have potentially engaged with Homestuck. I actually sat down and started to read the comic in 2016. Got bored because I have ADHD and didn't read it for another 3 years. But I like, this is where it starts to kind of like be in my awareness. But I didn't have any sense of like what exactly it was about or any of that stuff. So this didn't mean anything to me until I actually read it again. I liked Collide. It was fine. It ended everything. It tied up everything pretty well. There's probably some stuff that's gonna be changed about it, like based on the conclusion of the rewrite, just because we have different characters are in different places doing slightly different things, that kind of stuff. But like the overall concept of it was good. It was a big final battle. Everything. Well, I know for a fact we've got a few things changing because we changed some of the stuff about like who is defeating like which stupid little bullshit felt guys and all that stuff. But like the general conceit of it was fine. Very neat that it had kind of wrapped everything up. Very big flash. Music is amazing. Really, that's one of the things that really stuck out to me about. Yeah, exactly. That stuck out to me about this. And all of this stuff with the production and all that, like, that sucked. I didn't know about that until a couple of years later. I don't think that was like widely known information until a couple of years later. And as far as it affecting the rewrite, it kind of doesn't, because like I feel like we have having this capstone flash still. I mean, that's a perfectly valid thing to do. It's just ours is going to be like 10% different. But overall, I liked it. It was a good experience.
So we have to briefly cover what happens with the animation then.
I guess we do.
We've alluded to it a couple times. So allegedly the Act 7 animation was not completed. It was completed by the team intending to work on Hive Swap. Allegedly, Sarah Zed on YouTube covers this in her video if you'd like a more extensive look at what happened with that, and then what happened when people found out about that. That's not our department. She already covered it. She already got almost sued by Andrew Hussey over it. Go check her videos out about it. I don't want to talk
we're
about
safe.
it more.
We're safe from that because they'll never listen this far in to this video. So
That's
we're
true,
good.
because
We're
we
solid.
found out in Sarah's video that they hadn't watched the video that they threatened her with legal action over. So I really don't think we need to worry about it.
Yeah, I again,
fine.
yeah, like Bucky said, allegedly.
Allegedly.
We had all of these
Boots.
fucky
Boots
shit
and
that
the
happened
ginger.
behind the screen. Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot, but
It is a lot. I think the only thing we really need to talk about with Collide is like, because basically how it's set up is you have these characters who are set up to defeat certain big bads, like Terezi, Dirk, and Dave are fighting the Jacks and stuff. And I think what we could do, other than like the presentation of the actual Flash, because this will be in prose form instead of a Flash,
right.
is I think a lot of the fights are pretty good. Like Roxy killing the Condess, I think is very, very. It's very symbolic, and it finishes her thread of like hating the Batter Witch, which is very good. I think Jane being a healer is fine. All of the symbolism there is fine with me. We might change stuff around like in a minor way, but all in all, I think like arrangement of it, besides what we've talked about with like Vriska fighting the Felt instead of Jake, feels pretty good to me.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, we talked about. We'll move on to Act 7, and like you guys said, some of the animation was allegedly done by a different team. Basically, some of the animation was a grift,
Yeah,
which is funny to me.
putting aside the fucky shit with the production and allegedly what happened
Outside of that.
like as far as the actual thing itself and how we would do it maybe differently.
Yes.
Yeah, oh yeah, and the thing that I said last time that I forgot to mention was initially I did not like the art style of Collide. Now that I am aware of where it was allegedly produced and by whom it was allegedly produced, I have no problem with it. I thought the pivot to a slightly more anime style was a joke about Homestuck becoming an anime because it ended up finishing with a 20-minute animation, which is, the average runtime of an episode of anime. But, yeah, that's not what it was.
No,
that's
allegedly.
That's very funny. I agree. I actually kind of like the anime style myself. The only thing I don't like about it is like sort of how. Okay, I'll put it this way: Vriska's boobs jiggle. Why does that happen? That didn't need to happen. What's up with that?
That's a good question, JoJo. That's hey,
that's the only problem.
Mr. Rusty, would you like to have a seat?
There's no reason for that, I'm sure.
This is the I it's like for me, Act 7 is like a little weaker than Collide, and that's why I say Collide is like the true ending, because Act 7 feels more like the loose ends are getting tied up instead of this needs to be a flash. Like it's sort of falling action in terms of like a classical analysis of literature.
I actually think that I liked Act 7 a lot. I thought it was very cool. It also has very good music. It feels pretty like coherent for what it is. It's got a kind of vaguely like AMV vibe to it, which I actually like. That's not an insult. Although I was thinking about this earlier. This is one part where I wonder if it would be better to make a couple of things a little more explicit within the text. Specifically, so one of the things we've been driving at for the whole, most of this rewrite is the idea of like subverting the narrative and escaping from it. And I think it would be cool to make that like, because that's kind of what happens in Act 7. Like they don't explicitly like kill Lord English. They just kind of like get the fuck away. And I actually
he's implied to be defeated, but like
So I kind of like the idea of them not like having this big climactic final battle, but the big climactic thing they do is in fact escaping and making it so that he cannot follow them. Like he is trapped in the final embodiment of the narrative is trapped in its own world of bullshit, and everyone else gets to escape. Like it's that final like, you wanted your stupid story the way you wanted it. Okay, here. Take it, and you do what you want forever by yourself. Which like
he gets his own universe to fuck up, but
no one else is there. It's like
no one else is there, and I feel like Caliburn would be pretty okay with that.
It's almost like and the thing is like I think that there's some larger like symbolism when it comes to meta narrative, and also like the idea of like fandom and how fandom interacts with a work versus like canon, where it's like, what, this doesn't matter. Like this is a thing that like the author's desire to preserve the integrity of the work ultimately, like once the story is out in the world, anyone can do whatever they want with it. And there's nothing an author can do to stop fandom interpretation or people from making derivative works. I mean, they can rail against it and complain, and people can talk about how this is stupid and why would you do that, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because it's no longer in your control. As soon as you show a work to one other person, the sum total of that work becomes the interpretation of you and everybody that's experienced it besides you. So like you don't get to determine how another person reads something, and that's kind of the point of this whole thing is that yeah.
It's the Gonzo interpretation that we were talking about a couple
Yeah.
episodes ago.
Yeah, exactly.
I do want to circle back to something you said that kind of made a switch flip in my brain. The it's you mentioned it's unclear in Act 7 a little bit what is happening, and I agree 100%, and I never really knew how to articulate this before, but Act 7 I don't think needed to be a flash in and of itself, because a lot of the things that happen are the culmination of like a lot of the game stuff. For instance, you have the very symbolic like tadpole flying into Skya like the sperm into an egg. Very cool. On the other hand, unless you have someone telling you in a narration style or through a thing like what is happening, you're kind of just expected to know. Does that make sense? And there's a lot of things that are not very intuitive because, like we said before, this was made out of house in at least some parts. So it's very difficult to like, okay, what's happening here? I think it could have used some narration, especially because it's wrapping up the story.
Wait. Okay, so what you're saying is like instead of just having this flash, what you need is like Carl Sagan narrating over top it, explaining what's happening.
Billions and billions of frogs. Each DNA strand handpicked by the hero of space.
I knew if any of us could do a Carl Sagan, it would be you.
Billions and billions of sperm. But yeah, not like a Carl Sagan. Yes,
I'm
essentially what
joking for
you
the
said.
Listeners.
There's like just like explain what the fuck is going on, because otherwise it has zero impact as like the final part of the story. But that's a pretty small complaint in my mind. It's just like I'll put it like this. I think that Act 7 was good. It was just executed in a suboptimal way, which is, again, very mild critique.
Yeah.
But, like, it does its job. It's fine.
And the thing is, again, allegedly, the problems that were, now, like, its production informs why it is the way it is. And, like, it's very cool. It's very neat. I love the animation. It's really interesting visually. But I do agree that, like, it didn't have to be what it was. Like, it felt very much like we're going to do this big thing as the final hurrah, and like very cool, but also yeah, you probably could have conveyed it in another way that would have been equally effective, or just made it produced in a way that was like less resource intensive maybe. But like that's not really an issue that we're tackling with a rewrite. It's just that's stuff with the actual comic that does inform why things are the way they are, and whatever, it is the way it is, unfortunately.
Yeah. Bucky, what are your Act 7 thoughts?
I'll kind of mush some of my Collide and Act 7 thoughts together. Like, because they happened far enough apart, but they're mushed together enough in my mind because it was just sort of like, oh, we got a big thing. Oh, there was a bunch of pause again. Oh, we got another big thing. Oh, there was another wait. There's an actual Snapchat update on my actual phone.
Yeah.
Okay, it's gone. Like,
How far between the two updates was it anyway?
Let me look at the...
I'm in the process of looking it up. I just wondered if you knew.
.com.
No. No, not actually wasn't that. Collide to Act 7 was like 10 days, apparently. Not even 10 days. It was like 7 days. Oh, so it was a week. It was a week later.
Okay, so that's why it's mushed together. It wasn't that close.
On Tumblr, this is the part of the story where I was actually involved in the fandom, where I was, reading the updates. And I remember just how, like, abrupt it was, because there were a lot of, like, Omega Pause meme pages on Tumblr that just were like, oh, it's over now. See ya. And that was very surreal, that, like, because it was a joke before Homestuck ended that Homestuck would never end. Like, it was unimaginable
Yeah.
that, like, Homestuck would end. This is just too big of a fucking narrative. No one knew how much was left. It was just a circle jerk, and people were like, speculate on it. And then one day, it was just like, we're done. Wrap it up. And that was very funny to me, that it was just sort of abruptly over. But I think that is also, like, in a storytelling sense, that's not very effective. If your story, like, is just kind of over at one point. I think that kind of goes to show how poorly paced Act 6 was at the back half. And I cannot blame Andrew Hussey for this in good faith, because I know there was a lot of other shit going on that might have prevented him from doing other, like, promotional things. Like, his blog posts basically dried up during the whole... Because this is also when Hive Swap began development, and
I mean, this
again,
is like kind of his fault for mismanaging the development and all that. But
if you want more information about that, look at the Sarah Z video. Just
it's
wow.
pretty comprehensive.
So I understand why it went down like that, which is why I think it would benefit from a rewrite like this. We're kind of getting at why this project exists in the first place, because not only was Homestuck not effective with its themes, it was also not able to be effective with its themes, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. It did not have the ability due to what it was going on during it.
That's what we've been arguing the whole time, is that Homestuck was
exactly.
In and of itself a first draft, and that's not a bad thing.
No.
But, like, it's a serial webcomic that, like, posted updates as soon as they were finished, in the way that many, many serial webcomics are. And there's like a trap that webcomic artists can get trapped in. One of my favorite webcomics was, like, terminally in this sort of production hell where he was writing, it was about, like, aliens or something, I don't remember. He was writing the comic and actively updating it, but also going back and redrawing old panels or old pages from years before, because his art style had changed. And so he was trying to keep the art style consistent while still producing it, and I don't know if he ever stopped, but, like, that's how you kill your motivation to do your webcomic.
That's what happened to fucking Tails Gets Trolled.
Like, you gotta, I like certain webcomics where the style goes from, like, fucking stick figures to, like, really high end because the artist has evolved so much, which is, like, fine. It's just, like, yeah.
I think the one that sticks out most clearly in my mind of, damn, this dude learned how to draw while doing this comic, is, questionable content.
Yes. Oh my fucking god, I was thinking about that.
It's a good comic, but, like, at the beginning, if you start from the beginning and then read it, you get, like, it's a Boil the Frog situation. You don't really notice as his art style evolves until, like, you know, you're a few years in, you're like, damn, the proportions are, like, good now. I'm sorry, Jeff Jocks. And I'm probably not telling you anything you don't already know. But then you go back and look at it, like, or if, like, you accidentally click back to the first page instead of going to the most recent update, and you're like, holy shit!
Very...
But he's never gone back and fixed it because he doesn't need to.
No.
And Homestuck didn't need to be actively fixed as it was coming out because that would have killed it. But now that it's been years since it ended, that's why we're coming back. We reiterate this every episode, but I think I want to make it clear that, like, no, that's just, like, a thing that happens in webcomics sometimes where they can get trapped in this hell, and I'm glad Homestuck didn't.
Homestuck did one of the bravest things any media property can do, and that is end. Just fucking finish. No matter what.
Well?
No matter what. Okay. Yeah. As I said that, I realized. But
then it undid its very good decision,
unended,
and
yes.
everybody wept.
Yeah, it wasn't a great call. There's, God. Yeah, like, at a certain point, it's just get this thing done, and, like, it was what it was. It was a serial webcomic. We're now going back over that, and so we can approach it differently, which also means we will approach it slightly differently than it was originally approached, because the way that you have to write a serial work is different than the way you would write a work with an overview. we're not trying to recreate the serial experience. That's not the point of this. I was going to mention another comic that also did the same thing as Something Positive, which started out looking pretty crude, and then by the end of it, it had like a pretty. I don't think it's still ongoing. It might be. I don't know. I haven't read it for a long time. But the art style was like defined at a certain point.
Another webcomic that I love, that I just absolutely adore, whose art style changed considerably is, you might have heard of this, Control-Alt-Delete,
God,
also known as
up.
CAD.
Hey guys, do you want to know a fun fact about me, Bucky Grant? I was reading Control-Alt-Delete as updates and remember getting to Loss as an update. And that's a memory I'll have forever.
When did Lost come out? Because I also was a Control-Alt-Delete update reader for a while.
God.
Oh, 2008. You know what? I might have
Next
actually...
time, rewriting CAD.
No,
absolutely not. Go to hell immediately. Do not collect $200. Do not pass go.
Do not pass go. Yes. I think that kind of sums up my thoughts on Act 7, which, if this is boring for the listeners, like, this is the end. Like, this should be boring. I think the only thing that I have was the structural thing, which was like, all right, this might not be explained the best, but like, at this point, I think that we will probably use much of the structure, but like probably in a more succinct format. So again, this is one of those things where it's like, we actually like this. For anyone who in the comments talks about like, you clearly hate Homestuck. We don't. We like Homestuck. Unfortunately.
Janaya has a Homestuck tattoo on her body. What are you talking about?
Yes.
I'm planning on getting a Homestuck tattoo. I own hundreds of dollars of Homestuck merchandise. I've been here for 9 3/4 years.
That's longer than I've been alive.
Genuinely, no, it's not. I genuinely like the many of the elements of Homestuck. I like the characters a lot. At least their potential. They're not always realized the best, but like the ones I like are generally pretty alright. Except Porum could stand to be tuned up a little bit, so she's not such a stereotype. But it's got a lot of potential. It's got an amazing capacity to galvanize fandom and create things. I really do enjoy the Hive Swap universe, which is basically a derivative work off of Homestuck, if we're being perfectly honest about it. And like, there's a lot of good stuff. Like, it's got a good core story. It's got a lot of good elements. There's a lot to like chew on. There's just a lot of like not good stuff in there, but like, it is what it is. Like, some of it you can like work with. Some of it I would say you just throw in the trash. But like, it's going to exist as a work forever. It's not, I mean, in spite of Viz Media's best efforts, the Homestuck Unofficial Collection will preserve it. So.
I was gonna say, like, according to Viz Media, we've just been making up Homestuck from whole cloth for, like, 5 episodes now.
Right, exactly. Yeah, Homestuck
according
ended.
to Viz Media, the cherubs don't exist.
You and I have something in common. According to Viz Media, neither of us exists.
Exactly, that was exactly what I was going for. Thank you. I've seen The Incredibles upwards of 100 times.
I liked that character for normal reasons.
For normal reasons, Shania. Of course.
I saw, the final thing we should talk about is the Snapchat updates, which are the only epilogue, as we discussed.
Right, there's no other epilogue.
Because
it's just the
I think that I really want to talk about this because we've talked a lot about Homestuck as... I'll put it like this. I think Homestuck's best trait is that it is basically a blank canvas for fandom. there have been like literally hundreds of millions, well, no, not literally hundreds of millions, hundreds of thousands of fan trolls that have ever been created. And I think that's wonderful. It has spawned like lore and discussion and class spec analysis and all of this cool stuff, but it kind of fails at telling a cohesive story. But the way it does tell a cohesive story kind of shines out in the end of it, which is the epilogues, where they go to Earthsea, everyone is fine, and there are just these little vignettes of very low stakes, little tiny stories. And that's very, I don't know. I remember reading these and thinking to myself, this is the most positive I've ever seen a piece of like official Homestuck stuff.
It was actually really
It was
good.
just cute.
And yeah, it was. Also, that's like kind of where we've been going with this whole thing, is that like they get to leave the story as it was written. They get to live their lives however they live their lives. You know, they're no longer defined by their role in the narrative. They're just people that get to do stuff, and we get to imagine what they do, because like it doesn't have to be rigorously defined. Like one of the things I disliked about the Homestuck epilogues, which is a thing I'm making up right now, is that it decided that it was really important that this idea of like canon and the narrative had to continue. It definitely had to continue, even though even in canon Homestuck, like getting away from the narrative was like kind of sort of the point, at least a little bit. Maybe not as like deliberately as we've made it, maybe not as on the face, but like it's still there. They still made a new world and left the old one, and they did whatever the fuck they did. Like that didn't need to be walked back on, but like whatever. I like the Snapchat epilogues. They were cool. It was nice. It gave me a lot of like things to think about, and I could like play off of that to write stuff. Like I don't know. It was cool. It was a cool way to kind of like seed fandom discussion, the whole concept of like what happens on Earthsea and all the Earthsea AUs and all the post canon works that were spawned after Act 7. Like, you know, things like Act 8, Act Omega, Kitty Quest, Therapy Stuck, you know, all of these works that have taken the end of Homestuck and continued it in various ways, which is really cool to see.
Like the famous Rosemary Goes to Taco Bell fic.
I mean, yes,
Yep,
that is in that. That is in
unrelated
that
to any Gravity Falls fan fiction by similar name.
God, yeah,
I
sure.
still don't quite know what happens in that, and I don't want to.
This is a don't look this up, please don't look this up moment.
God, you know people will do it.
But yeah, I think that Homestuck exists the best as like a sandbox to like tell little cute stories in. And again, I don't want to get into the epilogues too much, but the epilogues fucked this up by having it be like a high stakes story about stories again, because we already got that with Homestuck. The best part of the epilogues is like the Omega kids and their shenanigans and like, you know, having fun in a new universe, in a new space.
Like, I mean, I'm not saying you can't make another like high stakes story as a follow on. I would just argue that like maybe doing it as like the official follow up wasn't a great idea, and like the way it was handled maybe wasn't a great idea. Like maybe it would have been better to very specifically like move away from the original conceit of it and do something I don't know. I have thoughts about the epilogues and Homestuck too, actually, but I'm not going to share them now. I'll wait till we do one of the bonus episodes. Yeah, no, I have some thoughts about that.
I just hope that I haven't completely lit every single brain cell that was devoted to thinking about Homestuck 2 or the epilogues on fire by way of consumption of a green substance before we record that episode. I'm certainly trying real hard.
Uranium?
Like to wipe that out and never think about that again. Uranium, yeah. Actually,
you know,
hi,
like in
I've been lying
Homestuck.
to you. My name is Becquerel Harley, and I only consume irradiated cannabis.
Yeah, yes,
We
exactly.
you gotta have at least a couple of fucking nuclear fission going on in your ganja, my dude.
Yeah, exactly.
What the fuck? What sentence was that even? What was I
I
doing?
don't know. I led us down a dark path.
I that wasn't even conjugated right, man. I fucked up. Anyway,
I think we're well beyond the need for conjugation at this point.
so we got some extra time.
Yeah.
Between this and the other thing, we'll probably have about an hour. Do you guys want to talk about the Skynet Labs thing?
I don't know what the fuck you're
No.
talking about. That's something that you just like made up
made it
now. Out of
Yeah, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about Paradox Space, the comic,
Ooh,
which was
okay,
also
sure.
being
I would
released
like to talk
concurrently
about
with the end of Homestuck, but also it was I don't remember what the time frame for this was.
Yeah,
But,
I don't remember either.
It was good, and I want to talk about
was
it
good.
because I'm going to continue my thread about like Homestuck is best when it is telling little vignettes in its universe, and this is epitomized by Paradox Space, the comic. I think it's incredibly sad that Homestuck post canon stuff had gone down the rabbit hole it went, and to me, Paradox Space and the snap dates sort of represent a better future that we could have had. But in a less jaded way. I also think it was good and epitomized like the collaboration that went on between, Homestuck's creators and some of the people who collaborated with it. You guys read Paradox Space, right?
Yes,
What was your favorite one?
the summer camp one.
Easy
Yeah,
answer.
the D&D one or Summer Teen Romance. Yeah, it's just difficult not to pick Summer Teen Romance.
Yeah.
I really like the
I am
first one.
a Kanaya stan. I am legally required to pick
Yes.
Summer Teen Romance.
Summer Teen Romance was fucking badass. That was like they just wrote an AU that was like
Yeah.
not canon but like officially endorsed.
It was totally under. God, I'm blanking on their name. It was totally like under their wheelhouse though, because the writer and artist for that comic writes Paranatural and draws Paranatural. So like
Zach Morrison.
Zach Morrison, yeah, they already do, and they do use they them pronouns. They already
Okay,
do.
cool.
Or last I checked,
More like Swag Morrison.
which was a while ago. I'll double check. They Their webcomic is about supernatural teenagers that are 13-ish years old. So, like, doing what, like, I love the degree to which Zach Morrison pushes facial expressions in Paranatural. Specifically facial expressions. Like their art's fantastic.
Yeah.
And Paranatural is an amazing webcomic, but specifically I've always admired the way that they do... Like, especially, like, the way Johnny's face contorts and all these different ways that they push facial expressions are really, really good. And I'm not surprised that the way that their art, I don't know, I'm not surprised that they were able to pull off a really good webcomic. And I was, in fact, very excited to read Summer Teen Romance when I found, like, because I was an update reader for Paradox Space. It came out in updates. And I remember we're getting really excited about that one when it was announced.
Yeah, I wish that. So, like, honestly, what I wish had happened is that the people behind Homestuck had continued to support and platform like FanWorks, like rather than giving us what we got, to build a platform that was kind of like if MSPFA was like official and had like platformed fan content, curated it, gave you a place to highlight like art and fic and comics, and had like officially sponsored things like what we have with Paradox Space, and also unofficial things like to focus on the platform and the fandom rather than a follow-up that I felt, personal opinion, was very mean-spirited and not great to read, even though it was like often technically well constructed. And And like I really wish that we'd gotten that world, because like that would have been really cool. And like, yeah, make a fucking Patreon and use it to support the website. Like I feel like that would have engendered a lot more goodwill in the fandom than what actually happened, because like the relationship between the official the official group of people and the fan base like increasingly soured over time and like alienated more and more people. And like I was kind of there for when that all sort of fell apart, because that's when I was getting into the fandom. So I do have like a firsthand perspective on that. And like it sucks because like it didn't have to be that way. The mismanagement allegedly in some cases, and just like obviously in others, didn't have to happen. Like things could have been better. And it sucks that that wasn't what happened, because like again, Homestuck is such a cool fan community, and that's like its strongest point by far. Like any strength the work has is dwarfed by the fact that the fandom has created such amazing things.
Especially because it's such a betrayal. It is such a like I know that sounds kind of entitled, but the degree to which Homestuck was always driven by fan, not interpretation, not by fan involvement. Like I mean, it was literally a text-based adventure game. Yeah, it was a collaborative work, and it by the like God, I'm bad with words today. By the exponential growth of its fandom, it by necessity needed to stop being quite so collaborative. And I'm not blaming Andrew Hussey for going, damn, a lot of fucking people are interested in this. Maybe you need to like start picking and choosing.
Yeah, no,
because
that's
like
fine.
boy, you have to. But the degree to which it became less and less about a piece of art that was made with people who liked it, and more about like selecting who was worthy of taking part until selecting who was worthy of taking part until it became this like weird spiteful revenge driven game, like as allegedly, I guess I should add to that, as I'm aware of from things that happened.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. God.
Like it just sucks. I'm saying this not because I feel like I personally should have had some sort of involvement with the ending of Homestuck when I was like 18 years old, because yeah, that would have made sense. I'm saying it because it was something that could have gone somewhere much greater than where it ended up dropping down to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like it's disappointing to see, because like there are still a few projects in the Homestuck. Like there are projects, like I've mentioned a few of the post canon works that are very, very expansive. I mean, Act 8, a full continuation of the comic produced to the same or higher standards than the original, recently like a year ago released its big flash sort of like climax bit that's like got 40 something thousand views now. You've got a bunch of fan games that put a lot of time and effort into meeting or exceeding the standards of the original. So like Befriend Us, Distant Quest, our fucking game Friendsim 2, where we're working with people that worked on the original games. And it's like you've got these things where people put a ton of time and effort into it, all the dub projects, all of the Voxus stuff. Like you've got people that put a tremendous amount of passion into this and like really create some amazing works. And it sucks that now like Homestuck as an official property is like dead. Like it's a ghost town. Like I don't know how many people work at What Pumpkin. My guess is probably like one or two. But like nobody's doing anything regularly, and it's like you've still got fan content that's pretty amazing, and it's like it sure would have been cool to live in a world where they like acknowledged fan content and like focused on that instead of just trying to make their own stuff that then people just like very divisive. I'll be diplomatic about it. Like I Homestuck 2 in particular ended up being extremely divisive, and made some decisions that I think were extremely questionable, had some alleged bullshit behind the scenes, and like again, it didn't have to be this way. Um,
No,
and
that's
it's
the thing.
disappointing because
Didn't
it's
have
like
to be this way.
you can see the potential. Like you can see
Yeah.
like, oh, this is how it could have gone, and like
That's why it's still so good to be in the fandom. Is like
yeah.
it's still there's like so much hope still here.
I mean, that was what made the all of the pauses work. Is there was so I
Exactly.
have never before or after been in a fandom that took to creating AUs quite as well as the Homestuck fandom did. Look, we've revisited some of them and found them to be either okay or tasteless in a heterosexual way. Janaya knows what I'm talking
I know
about.
exactly what you're
but-
talking about.
But it's certainly a fandom of potential, and that's and because I'm somebody who likes fandoms of potential, I stumbled ass backwards into the Voltron fandom after Homestuck. But
Jesus.
Homestuck, Steven Universe, MCU, Voltron.
Ooh, jeez.
But no, so like Jojo, feel free to like remove this one, but I think the final, not the final, not the first, but the definitive nail in the coffin for Homestuck as a property dying was we don't post on meme numbers.
Yeah, I like there's a lot of things that sort of went wrong.
And that in particular because it is so antithetical to be fighting against the fans that you have created, to say, no, we don't do commemorative annual dates anymore.
Or
And particularly because it was an anymore thing. If you
Yeah.
buy the official Homestuck calendar, which I have for many years in a row, not only does it have holidays on there, but it has Homestuck anniversaries on there. So the idea that like Homestuck would no longer engage with its own numbers and references that not only were important to the comic itself, but show up as references in places like Adventure
Yes.
Time,
Yeah.
like
Or
that it was abandoning the soul of it.
yeah, I agree. It's such a huge part of also what made. I mean, you've seen the stuff that goes on 413. Like it's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's like this is not all fandoms. Almost no fandoms have like a holiday. That's beautiful. That's rare. That's like that's cool.
We have like 5 holidays minimum. We have
just had
413, 612, 1025, 1111 if you kinda, and then
if you're in the high swap.
and then all of the kids' birthdays.
Mm-hmm. The
Well,
other...
1111 was also Crocker Corp rebranding
Oh,
day,
yeah,
and the
that's
day
right.
X6 launched.
Right. The other thing, like again, like yeah, that lack of acknowledgement of that stuff, and then like having very very high profile fan stuff that then got like downplayed increasingly. Like the one I'm thinking of in particular is Stuck at Home Con, which the first Stuck at Home Con had like official people get, like it had Aisha as one of the guests, and it's like why not acknowledge, and like the thing is the official Homestuck thing never acknowledged it. It's like you have an online convention, one of the first online conventions, one of the first like all online conventions, and even to this day pretty popular. Like I know I wasn't there for the first one, I was there for the second and third. The first one I know was particularly large. The second and third were about the same size. Like it went from like I think 3,000 people to like 1,300. But the thing is, like, if you took that Stuck at Home Con and put it on like, we looked up furry conventions because those are ones where you can find numbers very easily. And if you mapped it against like furry conventions, it would be like the 30 something largest con in the world out of like 200 or 300. Like it's not insignificant, and it's the only like Homestuck specific convention. And it's like why not like acknowledge stuff like that? Like this is something that brings the fandom together. This is something that is designed to celebrate something that we all like.
What kind of numbers did that FroggyCon recently pull? Because that looks super
Oh,
cute, but I was intrigued. Oh, that's a
no.
week-long event, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
still
yeah,
going.
yeah. It's an ongoing thing. They did the approach of having like a couple panels a day for like a week, whereas Stuck at Home Con is like a full day
Yeah.
from like 10 a.m. to midnight.
Yeah, the way SawCon runs, you kind of have to have it shorter because most of the moderators can only devote a day or two, which is, yeah.
I think it's gone unsaid for a long time, but sock on these nuts.
Yeah, that's why I was saying
Thank you,
Stuck at Home
JoJo.
Con.
Yes.
Yeah, I know you're trying to dance around it, but I've been abbreviating it for too long.
That's very funny.
What,
You
No, but, like,
run the con for a year and you really get tired of that.
Yeah, I didn't run it, but I've been a panelist for
You
2
have been
years in a
panelist
row.
for years, yeah.
I don't know. I'll probably end up on like a writing panel or something again next year. I don't know if I'll host my own. Although, Blended Media and Will at Homestuck are gonna have a showcase or a trailer showcase thing in the trailer in the winter showcase. Holy shit!
Yeah, which is
8:11 p.m.
Which is happening on the 3rd of December, which is one of the kids' birthdays. That's Rose's birthday, one of those meme numbers. So
Team number.
we did that on purpose.
We're serious adults. Serious Steven.
Like this is all, we're all big old fucking nerds, which is fine. Like it's fine to be big old fucking nerds who like a comic. Like it's a thing that brings people together. It encourages incredible creative energy. I'm just really disappointed that wasn't leaned into, that wasn't supported, that the relationship between Homestuck and its fan base became so antagonistic, because like I was there to see that. Basically, like I was there running up, reaching my hand out as it was falling off the cliff. Like I got to see it all fall apart, and I am a little disappointed that I didn't join earlier to like be a part of some of the earlier stuff. But I mean, I'm glad I am where I am. It just sort of sucks sometimes.
I'm nostalgic, but there were certainly some really fucked up things about the
Oh,
early
yeah.
fandom that I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
want to
definitely.
even approach getting into it. But like for every person that was creating something interesting and creative, there was another person, often the same person, doing weird fucked up shit. So like I remember
don't
playing
know.
Spin the Fago in a firehouse annex building when I was
This
16
sucks.
years old, and
can't-
that's all I
That's a
have to say about
sentence
that.
you said.
I was dressed as Rose.
You're making me nostalgic in the bad way.
Yeah.
Like the,
nostalgia,
Bad
derogatory.
I think that's it for the episode. I think we
Yeah,
covered
fuck it.
everything. This will be the last episode because for two reasons. One, we're done with the comic, and two, we're sick of making this. We'll probably come back with some bonus episodes about some various other topics. But those will be down the line after we've gotten some a break. So consider this at the very least the Rewriting Homestuck hiatus.
The Gigapause.
I was gonna make a Gigapause joke. Thank you, Bucky.
Good stuff.
It's
Yeah, the
appropriate
Gigapause.
that you would do that.
Yeah, I think this is good, though. What will happen now is we'll actually start writing the fucking thing in earnest.
You mean you'll actually start writing the fucking thing?
Yes. I will write it
I've
and
got a
subject
game to
you guys
direct.
to
I
it.
don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I have like 3 days to get my outline together for redacted route, so I can give Janai the fucking
Yes.
backgrounds.
That'll be fun.
That'll be fun.
You guys will help me write this.
We will provide feedback.
You'll provide me
And
with much
moral
needed
support.
peer review. Yes, for this horrible thing that I've chosen to undertake. But I would like to take this moment to say on record, thank you guys for sticking it out this
Yeah,
has been incredibly long, a lot longer than I intended, a lot longer than I wanted to keep you guys around. And you guys have been like, a source of inspiration for things that I wanted to write, as well as like, we've been friends for a long time before this, but
Yeah.
I feel like I've grown closer to you guys,
But this has been a good experience.
and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
too.
been really fun.
It has been fun.
There you go first.
When the episodes actually record in Audacity, it's been fun.
Yeah.
God.
I as I've kind of like sidestepped into the Hive Swap fandom with Friends Him 2 and like some other stuff I've gotten involved with over the last few months, my feelings on Homestuck as a canon work, or more specifically continuing to create Homestuck content, has changed a little bit. But this has been a fun experience. It's been very informative. It's been very interesting. It's been very illuminating as far as some of the responses to it, both in the good and the bad sense. But like overall, this has been a really positive experience, and I've had fun with it. I'm looking forward to doing some of the bonus episodes. So yeah, good stuff.
I think we've been recording for like 4 or 5 months now, and I realize that that's like maybe not a long time in the grand scheme of things, but like a lot of stuff has happened over the last whatever the fuck.
Oh my God, has it?
I was just like, thanks for sticking around till the end. We've had like, what the fuck episode are we on? 15, 16, 17?
15, I don't know. The numbers, I don't even fucking know.
I'm recording on Rise computer, so I don't have access to any of that. Wait, no, I can look at my DMs with JoJo. This is episode 16.
Nice.
The
the
counting
16th
the bonus
episode,
episodes right through. The 16th episode we recorded. So like that.
Right.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a fucking while. Thanks for sticking around all the way through those episodes and listening to us ramble about what is, to be honest, largely bullshit, but it's been fun bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
Like, in the grand scheme of things, I'm not telling many people that I am recording a podcast about rewriting an obscure cult classic webcomic.
I told all the people at my work. It sucked. It was fucking funny. It was
I don't talk about Homestuck with my coworkers ever. You can't do it, dude. You can't do it.
I'm the type of
Don't
person
talk
who
about
like
anything with my coworkers.
I don't overshare, but like I don't have any secrets. So I just mention, like, I try to mention it like being coy. So my one coworker who I mainly told about it, she was like, "Oh, what do you do on the side? Because I know you have a different job and stuff." And I was like, podcast. About what? And this is very sweet. I said, it's about Homestuck. And she was like, "Oh man, I remember Homestuck." And we had this conversation about like going to cons and how cool Homestuck was. And it was very sweet, but that's not how most people saw it.
What do you like to do on the side? Secret family. I have a secret family.
I stop existing until it's time to come to work, of course.
Right, exactly. Like a good capitalist.
I cease to be.
You exist in 2 states, working and non-existence.
Exactly. I guess, like, to finish this out, like, this is the end. You guys, this is not the last you'll see of us, for God's sake, and this is not the last you'll see of the project. I will say we will have a preview up for the SockCon Winter Showcase, so keep your eyes out for that. I will make sure to repost some things on my YouTube account. Other than that, though, we're going to be starting to put out actual work in the next few months. And then we will actually have Rewriting Homestuck instead of just like a conceptual podcast. But I'm glad you guys all enjoyed this. Next episode, there will be an episode next week that will be like a bloopers episode of some of the things that I left out of the other episodes. Or just like the funny bits.
Moderately ominous.
Not the bad horrible parts, but like the funny ones. But yeah, I guess
edited with little extra sound effects for extra effect.
Exactly. I guess that's it. Between What Pumpkin, Vriska, and the Fandom from Hell, and General Chump Fuckery, this has been one cromulent fuck crustable of a podcast. Jojo need drinky.
Those are certainly words that you just said.
Were syllables. Those were
You guys haven't seen that meme?
No.
I don't fucking know anymore.
All right, I'm stopping recording. This sucks. We've reached the point where the podcast sucks again, so
Yeah,
I'm
what?
logging off.
Fucking, I'm gonna stop recording now.
Rewriting Homestuck is a podcast by Jojo McLovin, Janiah Riley, and Bucky Grant, hosted and produced by me, Jojo. Please follow the links in the description to each collaborator's Twitter and subscribe on YouTube.